With the geographical area of 2.14 million square kilometers, Saudi Arabia is the 14th biggest nation in the world and is more than 1/5 the size of America. This makes it nearly as big as Western Europe. The nation is well known for its harsh climate and little rainfall. The region has been far from green due to its composition of largely desert and somewhat dry lands. An astonishing phenomenon, however, is now taking place in the desert. Surprisingly, the desert is fast transforming into rich farmlands, a phenomenon that even experts find perplexing. To learn more, stay tuned with us and don't forget to subscribe. Saudi Arabia, a young nation with a long history, spans most of the northern and central Arabian Peninsula. The government occupies about 4/5 of the Arabian Peninsula. To the north, it shares borders with Jordan, Iraq, and Kuwait. To the east, Qatar, the Persian Gulf, and the United Arab Emirates, and Oman. To the south and southwest, Yemen, and to the west, the Red Sea and the Gulf of Aqaba. We had always associated Saudi Arabia with sweltering heat, aridity, and deserts. The world's biggest desert, Ruba al-Khali, is located in Saudi Arabia and spans an area of 650,000 square kilometers. You will be astonished to hear that the 14th biggest in the world, with a total land area of 2.14 square kilometers, lacks a single permanent river. If you think you've heard it all, don't worry, we're just getting started. We said before that Saudi Arabia has extremely little rainfall. Let's go specific now. Historically, the country has received at most 150 millimeters of rain yearly. This should be a better ratio. As a result, most of Saudi Arabia has been very dry, with just a tiny portion of the southwest area suitable for cultivation. Even as recently as the 1960s, the nation was estimated to contain as little as 400 square kilometers of arable land. This represents 0.5% of the total population of the country. You may wonder how the people lived in terms of agricultural items at this stage. The solution, on the other hand, seems credible. Before the country's breakthrough in the growth of farmlands, inhabitants subsist mainly by growing tiny fields with local crops. All other required food products that could not be grown were imported. Only tiny strips of coastline were planted then, and only a few crops such as dates and vegetables were produced. This constraint was terrible news for a nation of such size. Though the nation lacked water, it clearly needed more. In actuality, Saudi Arabia is the world's most significant oil reservoir. As the saying goes, God instills something distinctive in everyone. This proved true for Saudi Arabia when a substantial volume of crude oil was found in a dam oil field in March 1934. The dam was constructed to a depth of 1,440 millimeters. As a result, the nation rapidly owned around 17% of the world's recognized petroleum reserves. This reservoir was believed to contain approximately 75 million barrels of oil. As a result of their abundance of oil resources, the Saudi Arabian government thought they could do more. So the miracle of quickly expanding farmland started. Moving ahead, Saudi Arabia may now be considered one of the world's contemporary seven wonders. This is because what was once a center of food importation is now a center of exporting wheat, dates, dairy products, egg, fish, poultry, birds, fruits, vegetables, and even flowers. Although it would seem that way, there is no magic behind the Saudi Arabian desert's quick transformation into productive farming. While some of the reasons for this extraordinary event were due to sheer chance, a more significant portion was the product of purposeful planning and acts by the Saudi Arabian government. They began by making significant technology investments. Technical equipment was required to offer everything necessary to convert arid terrain into productive farming. As a result, Saudi Arabia's agriculture sector has been revolutionized thanks to significant investments in initiatives that support cutting-edge farming technologies and rural infrastructure. Although a nation with enormous oil wealth, the Saudi Arabian government didn't just sit back and do nothing. Instead, they invested the country's riches in creating productive land for the populace. The government established initiatives to promote modern agricultural technologies and rural infrastructure elements in the 1970s. And as a consequence, the output of all essential crops has expanded considerably. The country is presently self-sufficient in various commodities due to significant quantities of meat, milk, and eggs. Due to Saudi Arabia's increased food production, there was comparable drop in food imports. Notably, they not only achieved self-sufficiency, but also significantly increased agricultural exports. During this time, there was a vast output of milk production, which amounted to around 1,800 gallons per cow per year. Fish farms were also expanding. These farms were developed in both on-land and at-sea settings. The development of these fish farms resulted in the production of seafood. Shrimps, in particular, were very beneficial to the nation. As a result, Saudi Arabia became a prominent shrimp exporter to countries such as Japan and the United States. Sales of the black tiger shrimp breed were robust. Additionally, thanks to Saudi Arabia's administration's efforts, the country swiftly transitioned from being a wheat importer to an exporter of the commodity. The construction of wheat silos in 1978 led to a wheat surplus in 1984. At this time, the main grain-producing areas in Tepe Hal and Kazim produced roughly 3.6 tons of wheat per acre. Other grains like barley and millet were also produced. After a period, grain production grew to such an enormous scale that it had to be reduced to preserve water. The government's desire to assist local farmers was an important factor that contributed to the country's quick improvement in agricultural conditions. One of the ways they accomplished this was by offering farmers interest-free loans and technical assistance. Again, farmers had access to low-cost water, electricity, fuel, and duty-free raw materials and agricultural equipment imports. Furthermore, the government was clever and generous enough to provide enticing incentives to investors. As a result, foreign joint venture partners were excluded from paying taxes for up to 10 years. The investment laws enacted in April 2000 went much further to provide further incentives. All of this was possible with the efforts of the country's Ministry of Agriculture, which implemented beneficial policies to assist local farmers. In addition, SAAB, the Saudi Arabian Agricultural Bank, has continued to give interest-free loans and subsidies to farmers to help them achieve the best possible farming outcomes. Grain, silos, and flour mills organizations were also formed in 1972, and they were in charge of purchasing and storing wheat, constructing flour mills, and creating animal feed. Modernized highway development linked rural districts to larger markets. The government also conducted capital-intensive initiatives to assist farmers with high capital demands, helping the economy's diversification. The government also financed research initiatives to develop new food crops, boost agricultural productivity, and develop new pest-resistant crops. Local farmers and scientists also worked in agricultural research centers at several national institutions. All hands were literally on deck. Further, there was an increase in the production of necessary agricultural foods like fruits and vegetables as a direct result of the development of more efficient farming and transportation practices. Therefore, goods such as melons, grapes, citrus fruits, onions, squash, and tomatoes were well known in the region and became essential export commodities. Again, what the growth in agricultural activities meant for the people of Saudi Arabia was an increase in the availability of local cuisines. This was a direct result of the expansion in the population of Saudi Arabia. Consequently, over 500,000 tons of dates of various types were produced each year. Soon after, several industries around the nation got actively engaged in manufacturing thousands of tons of dates to aid in the fight against global poverty and food shortages. The country's involvement in international charity work increased to such a degree that it became the United Nations' second largest provider of food aid. Being in Saudi Arabia at this time provides a positive feeling. Water, a vital component of agriculture, was also required for farming. Due to a scarcity of water resources, Saudi Arabia's agricultural process required good fortune and intelligent planning. This is how the problem with the water was eventually resolved. They began by tapping into the country's aquifers. Contrary to popular belief, Saudi Arabia is not a desert. Deep tube wells were constructed in the most fruitful urban and agricultural areas to extract water from the ground. This was a time-honored water supply on which Saudi Arabia now placed complete reliance. In Saudi Arabia's ongoing effort to cultivate more verdant land, the country's aquifers have become one of the most critical water sources. Once again, the nation could make most of the salt water accessible to them. The government quickly began desalination efforts because of the abundance of coastlines that stretched from the Gulf to Oman to the Red Sea. As a direct consequence, salt water was rapidly transformed into potable water that could be used in various settings, including houses and factories. As a consequence, the Saline Water Conversion Corporation managed around 27 desalination facilities throughout the nation, each of which produced more than 3 million cubic meters of drinkable water daily. They are also an essential source of electricity. Recycled water is becoming a more popular source of water. Domestic waste in urban areas must be recycled at least 40% of the time by the country's recycling facilities, established in Riyadh, Jeddah, and other major metropolitan industrial hubs. Agricultural fields and urban parks are irrigated using recycled water to accomplish this purpose. Due to these initiatives, vast swathes of desert land have been converted to profitable agriculture. There were less than 400,000 acres of arable land in 1976, but by the 21st century, there were millions of acres of productive land. The advancement that Saudi Arabia has made in its agriculture sector are remarkable and represent a significant accomplishment for the nation. We hope you now understand why Saudi Arabia's deserts are becoming green. Please share your opinions in the space below. Stay sound till we return with another breathtaking video for you.